Welcome to another album ranking in the genre of black metal. Today we are ranking Panopticon, which has been a long time coming, and you're probably thinking, hey Questy, didn't you say in a previous video they're one of the bands you can't get into? And you'd be right. This is one of the bands that I've really struggled with to actually enjoy and get into the music, but I think that's because of the certain albums I chose as my first albums from this band, and since then, diving into the discography as a whole, going deeper into every single album, I found a newfound love for this band, and I really appreciate them, and I love a lot of the discography. Some of them not so much, but I still respect them, and today we're gonna rank them for you guys. So, I've not been with this band since the start. Again, this is a band that I used to hate, and now I actually quite like. And I'll tell you the albums that I don't like and the albums that got me into the band and that I love now. So before we do all this ranking, let me know down below how you'd rank this discography. What's your favourite? What's your least favourite? And are you like me? Did you hate them and now you love them? Let me know. Let's get started with my least favourite. So, my least favourite is one of the classics. It's Kentucky. I know. This is some people's favourite black metal album of all time. This is the album that people say, check this album out. This is Panopticon's magnum opus. And that's the problem. I did check it out. I did not like it. This is the album. This is the reason I didn't get into them. I really didn't like this album when it came out. I still don't like it that much now. It's the only album in the entire discography where I'm kind of like, I like the ideas on it. I like that it's about the coal miners in Kentucky. Love the themes. It's really interesting, but it just doesn't appeal to me, personally. I like the themes on some of the other albums better, like Social Disservices. The themes about that just appeal to me more than the themes about coal miners. It's just a personal take. All the instrumentals on here, like the bluegrass stuff, one of my least favourite genres of all time, so obviously that's a mix made in hell with me. I don't really care about bluegrass in general, so this mixture to me just didn't work. But I understand how it's like the big one. It's the one that everyone says, because it from the earlier albums were a bit more raw, a bit more, I don't know, not quite hitting the Panopticon mesh. I was saying mesh and mix at the same time. Mesh. It's not getting that mixture right of the folky stuff and the black metal at the same time. It's more heavier on the black metal. So I can understand how this was a stepping stone to what Panopticon would ultimately become. But I just don't like it. So yeah, for me it's the only album I'm not a big fan of. Sorry. This will get hate comments already. But yeah, Kentucky. My least favourite. Next up is on the subject of Mortality. This one came pretty much before Kentucky, and it was going from the earlier, darker, heavier side to a more mellow kind of sound. Quite a short album, only like 32 minutes long, something like that, and it's more of a compilation album, but I do quite like it. I do like the sound, the themes, and the mood of this album overall. I think it's a pretty good album. It just pales in comparison to what came before it, in my opinion. I like the darker, more evil sound of Collapse and the debut, which I think are fantastic. Yeah, this one just, I don't know, it was kind of like, not quite Kentucky because that stands on its own, but in that similar kind of vein, a lot more mellow. But I still like the songs within, and this is another one what people love. And I can understand, just for me, it's second last for me. Next up we have Collapse, which I just mentioned, the second album by this band, and you could tell they were exploring more on this album, because from the debut to this one there's a lot more folky ideas, there's more like talking over the music, which is becoming a theme in a lot of Panopticon's albums, where they'll have like people talking and then the music over the top, which I'm not big into, and I feel like this is one of the worst offenders on the first track on here. It's got the George Bush thing for about 5 minutes, which I'm kind of like, alright, get to the music, but when the music starts in that long ass intro song, then it gets good, you know. And I love the instrumentation on this, and the vocals on Collapse especially, really harrowing, really evil, and just thunderous. The vocals on Collapse are some of the best vocals in all of Panopticon's discography. So yeah, I really like Collapse. I like the remaster as well. It's not my favourite, obviously. It's lower down on the list, but I still enjoy it, and I prefer it. I'd much rather throw it on than Kentucky. Sorry. Next up is the long-ass title I can never say, The Scars of Man on the Once Nameless Wilderness, Part 1 and 2. This is here because it's a double album. Big-ass double album where the first side is just pure Panopticon. Heaviness, great riffs, great melodies, great vocals, great some folky parts but not overblown. And the second part is pure bluegrass. You can see why I've thrown it in like the middle of the list, because the first disc is fantastic. I would have it maybe top. Maybe it would be like in the top 3. I love it that much. It's so good. Some of the best ideas they've done. The second half, as I said, not big into bluegrass, and the whole side of folky stuff just doesn't appeal to me. So that's why this double album is flat bang in the middle of the discography, because it's just like this yin and yang, where the yang I really don't care about. I'm not going to listen to again. It was good first time, the first couple of times, but after that, I've no need for it. Whereas the first side, pure perfection, one of the best albums they've done. So here we go, middle. I could have split it up on the list, but I'm not going to. And yeah, it should be listened to as a full, really, because it is a double album. But yeah, mixed feelings. Love half, hate half. So it's coming here. Next up is Social Disservices, which I mentioned before. This is one of the earlier albums, came out before Kentucky, but I feel like it just does it so much better. This is the most depressing Panopticon album, dealing with like the struggles of the social services, and you can hear that in some of the songs, like the children crying in some of the songs, but it is a harrowing listen, it is a hard listen, it's probably the most... it is the most depressing album out of all of them, but you know, I like my catatonia, I like my doom, and this is fairly in that doom kind of doom and gloom category, so I love it a lot. All these songs are bangers. I could have this a lot higher on the list. To me, this just hits me more. The themes on it, the emotion, the screaming, just everything is just really good on Social Disservices. It's one of the best albums they've done, and it's only here because they only get better. Next up is Panopticon, the debut. A lot of people just throw this last for no reason. I love this album. This album is a killer album. It's just, it's got that old school black metal energy. It's a bit rawer, it's more ferocious. They're not doing as much folky stuff on here. I do like the mix of the folky stuff and the black metal, but here it's just primal, and I like that. I like that there's a Panopticon album like this, where it's just raw, primal, and just evil, but it still has the atmosphere. It's more like a Druk album, or a Winterfilth album, and I love those bands. And if you gave me this album first, if I didn't listen to Kentucky, if I listened to Panopticon's debut first, which is what I should have done, I'd have been into them instantly. Because this album slaps. This is the kind of black metal I like. Atmosphere without compromising the heaviness. This is a great album for people who don't like Panopticon. Check out the debut. It fucking slaps. I just gave it to Jamie to check out and he loved it. And he hates them as well. So, yeah, go check out the debut. Underrated as hell. It's a banger. Bloody banger. Next up is the latest, The Rime of Memory. This is the album that got me into the band. The latest one from this year. I mentioned it on Best Black Metal Albums of the Year, I'm pretty sure. Or Black Metal Albums to check out from this year in one of my videos. It's long, yes, a lot of the songs are really long, like a lot of the other albums, but it just has so much emotion in, and it reminds you of winter on a lot of the songs. It really reminds me of winter. I love the album art. That kind of drew me in. I was like, alright, I'll give Panopticon another chance. And this album just blew me away. It took me a while to get into it because of the first song. The intro is just so long. It's like a 10-minute intro. And then it gets into the music. But after that ambient or atmospheric intro, it then kicks off and the rest of the album is killer. Like the rest of the album, so many good riffs, so many good melodies and hooks that you'll be just, emotionally engaged. Because it's an emotional album. And it's a beautiful album, and it's one of the best of 2023. Love this album to pieces. It got me into the band, so I'll always like it, but I don't think it's the best. I think there's a couple more which outshine it, but it's still like a 9 out of 10. I love this album now. So, props to get me into the band. Love this album. It's coming here. Number 3 is, and again, Into the Light, which is the album that came before this, which I remember listening to and not thinking much of. But on re-listens and re-listens, it's really growing and growing on me. Every single song has those catchy hooks and so many good atmospheric melodies that just get into your head like rhythmically. I love it. I love it. Moth-Eaten Soul is just a bloody banger. It has like these little short songs as well, which are just so good alongside the long songs. This could rise and rise. I have a trouble mixing the top 3 of my list. It could be in any order because this album could be top. Some days this album's top. Some days it's here at number 3 because the top 3 are just set in stone. It's just so good. I love this album to pieces. Yeah, it's one of the catchiest Panopticon albums. The vocals are ferocious. Everything's just chef's kiss. And again, Into the Light, an album that I used to kind of not like, and now I love. Maybe it'll happen with Kentucky. Who knows? But it's here at number 3. Number 2 is Autumn Aurora, the classic. This is the album that a lot of people also cite as the best between this and Kentucky, but this is the kind of black metal I like. This kind of nature-filled black metal where it feels like you're in the forest listening to it. It's not quite bluegrass, but it is beautiful. Beautiful. The acoustic parts amazing. The scream's amazing. It reminds me of like Drook's Autumn Aurora. Both have autumn in the name. A lot of Drook's discography. This reminds me of Winter for Live stuff, Sayor, all those kind of bands, Card and Brood, kind of. If you like that, you'll like Autumn Eternal. Now, this is one of the classic essentials you have to listen to. It is just that good. And I didn't want to... I'm not the guy who kind of... You put something top just because it's supposed to be. You could tell that by Kentucky being last. I just like this so much. So that's why it's here at number 2. But number 1, there can be no doubt. Number 1 is Roads to the North. This album is special. This album's like a 10. This is that cold, wintry atmosphere, but the vocals on here just somehow manage to be even more ferocious and just better than every album they've ever done. Like this album, they just have the best vocals in. It's mind-blowing. The melodies in here as well, the atmosphere, you can just taste the snowflakes on your tongue. It's that good. It transports you to the snow-barren wastelands, but it's so pretty to look at. That's this music. So amazing, so good. You got the Autumn Eternal one, where you're going through the forests with amber leaves, and you got Road to the North, where you're going through a mountain pass, and you got Social Disservices, you're going through the mental hospitals, and it's crazy. Yeah, different albums for different moods. I love Road to the North. It has that cold atmosphere, which is known in black metal, so I appreciate it. Yeah, it has some of the best songs on. It has some of the best riffs on, it has some of the best atmosphere on. It's the best album by Panopticon, and it's my favourite of all time. So what did you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below, and we'll be back with some more rankings coming soon. Next up is Shooter, and then we'll be doing Running Wild and probably Virgin Steel. So let me know down below, and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.